My hottest hookup turned out to be the new sex ed teacher, and the classes have never been more fun. His hands were on me before I even knew his name. The bass pounded, the air thick with sweat, alcohol, and sin. The club was a blur of heat and movement, but all I saw was him, tall, sharp, and devastatingly gorgeous. Jet black hair, green eyes that burned right through me, and a mouth that looked like it was made for ruining someone. I wanted to be that someone. He didn't ask, just grabbed my wrist, pulled me in, and murmured against my lips, "You up for something reckless?" Hell yes. We didn't make it past the cab ride before his fingers were dragging into my thigh, his breath hot against my neck. The second we crashed through his door, he had me pinned to the wall, his mouth all teeth and hunger, no hesitation, no teasing, just raw, messy need. Clothes hit the floor, hands grabbed too tight. We moved like we had something to prove, like this wasn't just a one-time thing, like we'd burn out if we stopped. By the time we hit the sheets, I was wrecked, dizzy, breathless, completely undone. And when I woke up, he was gone. No name, no number, just the ghost of his touch and the faintest trace of his scent on the pillow. Perfect. A one-time thing. Or so I thought. I was running on 3 hours of sleep, an iced coffee, and the pure confidence that sex ed was going to be the easiest class of the semester. Sit in the back, zone out, maybe chuckle at a few outdated condom demonstrations. Easy. Then I walked in, and my soul left my body. Because standing at the front of the classroom, all tall and smug, and definitely remembering every filthy thing we did, was him. My hottest hookup, my one-night stand. The guy who pinned me to a wall and ruined me just a few hours ago. And now, he was my new sex ed teacher. I made a noise. I don't even know what kind. A choke? A squeak? A dying man's last breath? Whatever it was, it made him look straight at me and smirk. Oh my god. "Welcome to sexual health," he said, eyes locking onto mine like he was enjoying this. "I'm Mr. Brown, but you can call me Jack." My brain short-circuited. Jack? His name was Jack? I had moaned that name, loudly. I was going to pass out. Meanwhile, Jack, Mr. Brown, was living his best life. He leaned against his desk, arms crossed, his stupidly perfect face the picture of amusement. "We're going to have a lot of fun this semester." Yeah, I was so screwed. Jack had been subtle at first, a smirk here, a knowing glance there, but today, he was going for the kill. "Proper application is key," Jack said smoothly, pulling out a condom and rolling it down over 2 fingers. His green eyes flicked to mine, full of something dangerous. "You want to make sure it's secure, but not too tight." I shifted in my seat, already regretting showing up to class. Jack continued, voice practically a purr. "Too much friction and it might break, and no one wants that, right?" A few people chuckled. I wanted to die. Then he really did it. Sliding the condom down with a slow, practiced motion, he added, and of course, technique makes all the difference. My brain went static. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was doing it to me, and the worst part? I could still feel his hands on me from that night. Could still hear his voice in my ear, low and dark and full of things I shouldn't be thinking about in a goddamn classroom. I was in hell. "Let's talk about risk factors," Jack said, leaning against his desk. "Anyone know what increases the chances of unintended consequences?" Someone muttered something about skipping protection. Jack nodded, but his gaze landed directly on me. "Good answer. Of course, alcohol can also impair judgment," he said, tapping his fingers thoughtfully. "Sometimes, in the heat of the moment, people make impulsive choices." My stomach dropped. "Like, say," he tilted his head, pretending to think, "hooking up with a stranger without asking any important questions first." I choked. The bastard smiled like he knew exactly what he was doing. He did know what he was doing. Someone behind me snickered. I slumped lower in my seat, wishing for the sweet release of death. "Ajax, stay after class," Jack said too casually. "You need a little extra tutoring." The class oohed. I glared at them, then back at him, but Jack just looked pleased. The second the room emptied, I hissed, "You're enjoying this way too much." Jack perched on the edge of his desk, all effortless confidence. "Maybe I am, but I think you are too." I groaned, running a hand through my hair. "You're insane." "I don't think that's what you called me the other night." His lips curved. "If I recall, you were much more creative." I was going to combust. It had been weeks of this, weeks of teasing, smirks, suggestive comments that made my stomach flip, and now it was just us in an empty classroom, tension thick as sin. I backed up, and Jack followed, until my spine hit the wall. He leaned in, one hand braced next to my head, the other trailing a single finger down my arm. "Tell me to stop," he murmured. I should. I really should, but my breath caught, my pulse hammering, and he saw it, felt it. Jack smirked. "Yeah, that's what I thought." Then he stepped back, leaving me wrecked and wanting, and just before he walked out the door, he tossed over his shoulder, "See you next class, Ajax." I slid to the floor. I was so screwed. I wasn't looking for trouble, I swear. Okay, maybe I was, just a little. The club was packed, the bass pounding in my chest, the air thick with sweat and alcohol. I was letting it all blur together, just trying to shake off the thoughts that had been stalking me for days. Jack. I needed something. Someone else to fill my head. That's when a guy stepped in. Decent looking, I guess. Not bad. He grinned and moved closer, hands finding their way to my waist. I didn't stop him. Smiled back, leaned in, and tried to let the music drown out the way Jack's green eyes still haunted me. Maybe this would be enough to forget. But then, I felt it. A presence. The air shifted. It wasn't just the heat of the crowd. No. This felt different. My skin prickled. I turned my head, half expecting to see some drunk guy pushing through the crowd. But it wasn't that. It was him. Jack. Standing just outside the circle of light, framed in shadows, his jaw clenched tight. His green eyes were locked on me, burning like nothing I'd ever seen. Not a teasing smirk, not that cocky confidence he usually wore like armor. Just pure, raw fury. I swallowed, my heart hammering. The guy beside me kept talking, but the words blurred together. I wasn't listening anymore. I couldn't look away from Jack. His stare was cold, cutting. And for the first time, I wasn't sure what he was thinking, what he was going to do next. One thing was clear though, this wasn't some game to him, not anymore, and that's when it hit me. This was never just a game, not for either of us. It had been weeks of this, of heated stares and little moments that were too much for me to ignore. The class was almost over, and Jack, Mr. Brown, was wrapping up his lecture on consent. But I was too distracted by the way his gaze kept flicking to me. Every time our eyes locked, I felt a jolt, like electricity snapping between us. When the bell rang, I was the last to stand up, waiting for the crowd to clear out. I pretended to gather my things, but I knew he was watching me. "Ajax?" Jack called quietly, his voice low, laced with something I couldn't quite place. I turned. "Yeah?" "Extra credit?" he said with a smirk, his tone light but his eyes saying something else entirely. "Meet me in my office in 5. I felt my pulse quicken. This wasn't extra credit. This was just another excuse for us to be alone together. I nodded and quickly left the room, my mind already racing. 5 minutes later, I knocked on his office door, heart hammering in my chest. He opened it, standing just a little too close, the heat of his body washing over me. "You're late," he murmured, leaning in slightly. The space between us felt charged, like we were both waiting for something to happen. "I wasn't sure if this was part of the syllabus," I muttered, my voice barely above a whisper. His lips curled. "You and I both know it's not," he said. Then, in a voice so soft I almost didn't hear it, he added, "But you can't deny it's what we both want." I felt my stomach drop. He was right. It was the middle of the afternoon. The hallway was practically empty, students either in class or headed to lunch. I had a few minutes before my next lecture, so I decided to hang out by the lockers, trying to shake the restless energy that Jack's lingering touches always seemed to bring. I wasn't expecting him to be there, but then, as I turned the corner, I saw him, Jack, leaning against the wall, arms crossed, staring at me with a grin that made my insides do flips. "Looking for something?" he asked, voice smooth, almost teasing. My pulse sped up. "Just getting some air?" "Getting air?" he repeated, pushing off the wall and stepping toward me. "I think you're just trying to get away from me." He was too close. I took a step back, but he followed, blocking my escape. The tension between us was so thick, I couldn't breathe properly. I looked up at him, my eyes catching his. "Jack, we can't keep doing this." His smirk widened. "Then stop showing up after class," he murmured, eyes glinting in the dim light. "Stop looking at me like you want something more." I swallowed. He stepped forward, a hand resting on the side of my face, his thumb grazing my cheek. "Stop pretending this is all fun and games," he said, his voice rougher now, low enough that only I could hear. "You feel it too, Ajax. You want this." And before I could respond, his lips were on mine, hot, urgent, and everything I knew I shouldn't want. But I kissed him back, because I couldn't stop myself. I was in way too deep. The following days were a blur. Every stolen glance, every heated touch in the hallways, every secret moment alone in his office felt like it was pushing us closer to the edge. But it wasn't just the tension, it was the weight of it all. I knew we were playing with fire, and one wrong move could send everything up in smoke. Then, it happened. During our extra credits session, which, let's face it, was more about us than anything else, there was a knock at the door. It was only a few seconds before someone entered. A student. I froze. Jack did too, but he quickly masked it with a friendly smile. "Can I help you?" he asked, his tone completely different from the one he used with me. The student was one of my classmates, a girl who'd always been overly curious. She glanced between us, her eyes lingering a little too long. I could tell she knew something was off. "Just wanting to grab something," she said, not looking convinced. I'll come back later." But the look she shot us as she left, I knew what that meant. "Shit," I muttered, feeling my stomach twist. Jack leaned back in his chair, the confident smirk returning to his face. "You're worried about one nosy student?" "One student? Do you know how many people could find out about this? The admin's been on edge lately. Someone's going to talk." "Then we'll deal with it," Jack said, the ease in his voice almost scaring me. But it wasn't the administration I was worried about. It was the part of me that was starting to fall. This wasn't just a game anymore. This was real, and if anyone found out about us, everything could crash and burn. I couldn't stop, though. I couldn't stop what was between us. The way his fingers brushed mine, the way his eyes made me feel like I was the only person in the world, even though I knew it could ruin us both. I couldn't do this anymore. That was the thought I kept repeating to myself as I sat at the edge of my bed, staring at my phone. Jack's name was there, but I couldn't bring myself to text back. Every time I thought about him, my chest tightened. "It's just lust," I told myself, "just a mistake." I had to end it. It was getting too complicated, too dangerous. If anyone found out about us, it could ruin everything, and I wouldn't let that happen. So I deleted his number, I ignored his texts, I blocked him on social media. I even convinced myself it felt good to do it, but the truth? I hated it. I hated how much I missed him, how much I wanted him, and how much it hurt every second I spent not hearing from him. But it was for the best, right? Right? It was too late. Too late to be making decisions like this, but here I was. I told myself I wasn't going to think about Jack, but as I walked into the club, I could still feel his presence in every part of me. I was with someone else, someone who wasn't him, but it didn't matter. I was hoping it would help me forget. He was decent looking, I guess, but he didn't make me feel anything, not like Jack. Still, I went along with it, trying to push the guilt down. We danced, we drank, I let him kiss me, but it didn't feel right. And then, just as I was about to pull away and leave, I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned, expecting to see the guy from earlier. Instead, I saw Jack. He was standing there, glaring at me, fury burning in his eyes. I froze. "Really?" he said, voice low but cutting. "This is how you're going to do it?" I swallowed hard. I didn't know what to say. The guy I was with glanced between us, confused, but I didn't care. Jack's gaze didn't waver. His jaw was clenched tight, and I saw the way his hands balled into fists. He didn't look amused. He didn't look like the guy I'd been sneaking around with. He looked angry. The tension between us was unbearable. Jack hadn't left. He was standing there, just watching me, his body coiled tight. I didn't know what to say, so I stayed quiet, staring at the ground. "Ajax," Jack said, his voice a mix of frustration and something else, something I didn't know how to name. "You think this is just a game? You think I don't care?" I looked up at him, my heart hammering. "This isn't supposed to be anything," I said, my voice shaking. "It was just a mistake. It was never supposed to get this complicated." He stepped closer, his hand coming up to cup my face, his thumb brushing over my skin. "You think I don't see you?" he murmured. "You think I don't feel this too?" My chest tightened. This wasn't just lust. This wasn't just a one-night thing. Jack's face softened, but there was a look of fear in his eyes. Fear that I wasn't going to choose him. Fear that I was slipping away. "I'm not going anywhere, Ajax," he said quietly. "I'm not letting you go." Everything blew up the next day. I was called into the office. Some faculty member had noticed something. Someone saw us together. The rumors were spreading, and I could feel the heat rising in my chest as they grilled me. But worse, they were grilling Jack. When I walked out, I saw him waiting in the hallway, looking like a man on the edge. His face was drawn, exhaustion written all over him. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen." Jack shook his head. "Doesn't matter," he said, voice tight. "I'll take the fall. I'll lose my job. I'll take whatever consequences come. I won't let you be dragged into this." I wanted to scream, to tell him no, to make him understand that this wasn't just about him. But when I saw the look on his face, the same look I'd seen when he was standing in that club, furious and protective, I realized something. He wasn't doing this because of the scandal. He was doing this because he cared, and I didn't want him to sacrifice everything for me. "I won't let you do that," I said, stepping closer. "I won't let you walk away." He looked at me like I'd just said something crazy, but I knew it was the truth. I wasn't going to let us fall apart. Not like this, not anymore. If we were going down, we were going down together. The meeting with the administration was a mess. Everyone was tense, the air thick with unspoken questions and accusations. But Jack was standing there, shoulders back, head held high, ready to take the fall. I could feel his resolve, and it scared the hell out of me. "You don't have to do this," I whispered to him when the room cleared for a moment. My heart was hammering, and I was ready to fight, to tell them it wasn't his fault. He shook his head, his voice firm. "It's already done. I'll lose my job, Ajax. It's the only way." But then, just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, a voice interrupted us. "Hold on!" We turned to see Mr. Hollis, one of the respected professors, stepping into the room. He wasn't just a teacher, he was a legend around here, respected by everyone. "I've been hearing things," he said, looking at us with a steady gaze. "But let me be clear. There was no misconduct. I've been teaching alongside Mr. Brown for years, and I know the kind of professional he is." The weight in the room shifted. Mr. Hollis continued, vouching for Jack's integrity, saying that there was no evidence of any inappropriate behavior, that the whole thing was just a misunderstanding. Mr. Brown has done nothing wrong in his capacity as a teacher, Mr. Hollis finished, giving Jack a small nod. It wasn't over. Not yet, but it felt like a lifeline. As soon as the meeting ended, Jack turned to me, his eyes searching mine. We're not done, Ajax. This is just the beginning. And suddenly, I realized I wasn't scared anymore. Whatever came next, we'd face it together. It was the end of the semester, and Jack wasn't my teacher anymore. I hadn't realized it would hit me so hard, but it did. I was standing by the lockers, staring at my phone. I should have been relieved. I should have been free. But all I could think about was how much I missed him. The late-night conversations, the stolen glances, the moments that had become us. I didn't want to just have that anymore. The secret glances, the sneaky meetings. I wanted something real. Just as I was lost in my thoughts, Jack walked by. No more Mr. Brown, just Jack. He looked at me, and for the first time, it felt like we were just two people. Not teacher and student, not secret lovers, just us. He stopped, his eyes softening. You're thinking about something. I hesitated. Then I said it. I don't want this to end. I want something real with you. His face softened, and there was a moment, just a moment, where everything clicked. Then let's make it real. The club was packed, the music blasting, but none of that mattered. All I saw was Jack. We were standing by the bar, and I was pretty sure we were the only two people who didn't look like they were auditioning for a reality show. Jack looked at me with the same devilish grin. So, wanna go over some extra credit? I raised an eyebrow. You're such a dork, I said, shaking my head. But I was smiling. I couldn't help it. He leaned in, his voice low. You love it. I snorted. I do not. But even as the words left my mouth, I knew it was a lie. He pulled me closer, his hand warm on my back. Yeah, you do. But admit it. You're here because you can't resist my charm. I rolled my eyes, but I was still laughing. Your charm is way overrated. Oh, really? He said, grinning even wider. Then why do I have you wrapped around my finger? Because you're impossible, I said, taking a step back. But mostly because you're cute. Jack looked at me with those green eyes of his, soft and full of something real. Well, guess that means I'm stuck with you, huh? I nodded, leaning in to kiss him softly on the lips. Yeah, I said, pulling back just a little. Guess you are. And for the first time, it wasn't a game. No secrets, no tension, just us, together, laughing at the chaos of it all. A few months later, everything changed. We weren't hiding anymore, no more secrets and no sneaking around, just us, living and loving how we wanted. Sure, it wasn't always perfect. We still had our chaotic moments, trying to figure out the balance between us and the rest of the world, but it felt right. Every time I saw Jack smile at me, every laugh we shared, every time we argued and then made up, that was real. We didn't need to be perfect. We just needed to be together. And somehow, even with all the mess and chaos of it all, it worked. We worked. It was messy, it was beautiful, and it was ours. And that's exactly how I wanted it. Do you believe love can bloom in the oddest of situations? Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become a part of our Rainbow Force and stay wholesome.